They're behind the most popular memes. They're behind many surprisingly clever discoveries. They're also ultimately behind scandals and all sorts of controversies. And they basically created the internet as we know it today. But you might not even know them, even though they have one name: the anonymous users of 4chan. The influence of this page on the internet culture is a great topic for academic research, and for our enjoyment, a great topic for a video about the story and the influence of 4chan over the years. So no matter if you have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about, or if you have a vague idea, or if you have a doctorate in internet culture and are already preparing your keyboards to critique me and tell me where I made a mistake, I hope you'll enjoy the video.
Do we even know who is this 4chan person or website?
Discussion forums. And yes, I know you internet dinosaur that you're perfectly aware of what I'm talking about. But just to make sure we're on the same page, let's clarify that. A forum itself is a somewhat archaic concept. Long ago, when Discord wasn't even a thing yet, and most gamers communicated via TeamSpeak or similar platforms, text information exchange on the internet took place on various discussion forums. Each forum had its own rules and was targeted to either a narrow or a broader group of users. On most forums, you had to create an account. Over the years, however, most internet forums have died out, or they have been replaced by Facebook groups or Discord servers, while some specific internet forums still hold their ground quite well. The rest of the forums died along with their users, who either literally left this world or simply got tired of arguing with strangers online. And of course, this is a big simplification because I want to quickly shift focus to a particular subgroup of online discussion forums: image boards, or more plainly put, picture-based forums. As the name suggests, image boards are discussion forums where a special emphasis is placed on posting text alongside video or images. Moreover, most of these platforms don't require an account to post, making them effectively anonymous. And that's the whole point. Just as the invention of the wheel must have once been a sensation, so too was the invention of posting images with text anonymously, specifically in Japan, where this craze for image boards first began. Now, some random person might chime in to say that their phishing forum in 2008 also allowed image posting, and yeah, that's true, but so what? It doesn't add much to the discussion. Moving on. The foundation for such forums was the so-called BBS, or Bulletin Board System, a type of computer service that dates back to the 1970s. Users could connect to a BBS machine to exchange text or files. These machines were accessed via a terminal and a telephone modem or a direct phone number, allowing for a proto-internet experience of sorts. While they might seem primitive now, in their time, they laid the groundwork for future technologies. Image boards, leveraging advancements in technology and the internet, offered far more functionality while still retaining the core principles of a BBS. But before image, there was text forums known as TextBoards, where, as the name suggests, users could only post text. On May 30th, 1999, Hiroyuki Nishimura launched the Japanese platform 2channel. This forum bridged the gap between textboards and BBS systems. Inspired by the Amazu textboard created in 1997, 2channel gained popularity after the downfall of Ayashi World, one of Japan's largest bulletin boards, which closed due to severe technical problems. This led Ayashi World's users to migrate to Amazu. When Amazu itself fell into disarray due to allegations, doxing, and threats against its anonymous owner, 2channel emerged as the dominant successor. By 2007, 2channel had millions of users in Japan, generating over 2.5 million posts daily. Its influence rivaled that of traditional media like radio and television. Despite the lack of image posting capabilities, the forum forum flourished. Users even found creative ways to bypass the image restriction by using Shift-G's art, ASCII art with Japanese characters. However, 2channel also exhibited a key characteristic of such platforms, attracting extreme and controversial content. On 2channel, xenophobic posts targeting Koreans and Chinese became a recurring issue, and by 2008, the site's administrators faced hundreds of defamation lawsuits. These problems culminated in 2014 when the platform split in two competing entities, 2channel and 5channel. As of today, 5channel remains the larger of the two, maintaining millions of posts daily, especially on weekends. But this was still no image board, as there were no image. Text boards didn't gain much traction outside of Japan, but image boards proved to be a universally appealing concept, capturing the hearts of early internet users worldwide. But once again, we must return to Japan, this time to a platform called FUTABA, also known as 2chan. The Japanese weren't particularly creative with names, were they? Founded on April 30th, 2001, FUTABA was created as an alternative for 2channel users during a period of turmoil when the latter faced potential shutdowns. Most importantly, however, FUTABA later introduced the ability to attach images to text threads. FUTABA features 60 image boards, 40 text boards, and several boards for posting various types of files. Its open source code became the foundation for many similar forums worldwide, including the one and only that we're about to dive into, 4chan. But before we move on, let's see what did the Russians do in response to the rising popularity of 2channel and 2chan in Japan. They themselves created 2cha, pronounced dvach. As absurd as it sounds, this is exactly what happened. Founded in 2006, the Russian dvach was a direct response to the success of such forums in Japan. Although the original dvach shut down in 2009, numerous clones quickly emerged, one of which surpassed the original. Today, it's the largest Russian language forum of its kind. Interestingly, after a massive DDoS attack in 2016, dvach began hosting its servers on infrastructure owned by the Russian state-backed giant Mail.ru. Many users believe the site was sold to the company for an undisclosed sum. Because of this, some users refused to call it dvach, claiming the real dvach ended in 2009. They use many derogatory terms for the site which are difficult to translate. The example of dvach shows how powerful the force of fragmented anonymous internet users is, who suddenly unite for one given purpose, spreading chaos, destruction, good or evil wherever it happens to fall. Generally, dvach has been behind many controversial actions. They pranked celebrities, especially those in the adult film industry, by falsely claiming they died. They pulled the same prank on the original founder of dvach himself. Users of this forum have often been accused of DDoS attacks on websites of the Russian opposition. After a school shooting in Kerch, forum users hacked the social media accounts of the perpetrator, publishing his private messages on dvach. As a result of this, he gained many fans on the site. Additionally, they doxed adult film stars and attacked celebrities online. But what is most interesting, however, is that in 2016 they doxed teenagers who were abusing animals. And in 2019, they also doxed a film studio in Kiev that was exploiting minors, leading to the arrests and convictions of the perpetrators. In February 2020, a user of dvach posted photos from a hospital claiming to be a nurse and stated that he loves to turn off ventilators and watch the agony of dying Old War veterans, saying he had already killed more than 10 people. Sergei Kalinin, 26, from Perm, later apologized and said it was only a joke and that he hadn't actually killed anyone, but he was still fired from the hospital. This power of internet anons is something that will continue to appear throughout the rest of this video, which 4chan, as an international gathering of people from all over the world, demonstrates very clearly on more than one example. Now, after all this context, we can finally move on, because then came the Americans that decided that 2 wasn't enough. So they added another 2, and thus 4chan was born. In 2003, a young Christopher Poole, alias Moot, created 4chan as an English language equivalent of FUTABA, hoping to find like-minded individuals to discuss anime. At just 15 years old, he managed a growing platform, likely unaware that it would soon spiral out of his control. Due to the open source nature of the FUTABA website, creating 4chan based on it was relatively simple. It mainly required translating the content and adjusting it to one's needs. In the beginning, 4chan focused primarily on the B-board, dedicated to discussions about anime and random topics. However, the site dynamically grew, and by the end of 2003, new sections appeared, but they still oscillated around anime culture. The number of users grew and traffic also increased, but the revenue was small. Because since almost the very beginning, 4chan had problems with financial liquidity, as there was no good business model in place. Advertisers didn't want to be associated with the potentially controversial content of the site, and donations for server maintenance were only collected when the site was on the brink of shutting down. And even with these fundraising efforts, there were massive problems. For example, in 2004, PayPal suspended donate payments out of concern for 4chan's controversial nature. Over the years, 4chan disappeared and reappeared, but the site still continued to develop, fighting against various challenges. Along the way, numerous new boards were introduced, moving away from the original focus on manga and anime, as well as new security measures against DDoS attacks and bot attacks, which had once flooded the site with automatically generated texts. In the end, in 2015, the original creator of 4chan, Christopher Poole, became tired of managing the site and also felt that he no longer identified with the activities of his users. So he sold 4chan to none other than Hiroyuki Nishimura, whom I previously introduced as the creator of the Japanese 2 channel. However, even Nishimura faced difficulties in solving the site's financial problems. Image boards don't seem to be a very profitable business, and passion and mission won't pay for servers. The exact details of the site's finances are unknown, but despite all of this, over the years, 4chan somehow managed to stay afloat and against all odds still operates today. But why exactly was it so incredibly hard for 4chan to stay afloat? What exactly happened there that caused advertisers to flee whenever they could, and for intermediaries in donations or hosting sites to block transactions and, in practice, hinder the site's operation? 4chan isn't just a platform, it's a way of living. Some people interpret it as some form of rebellion against corporation or the establishment or other social norms, but whatever you think of it, one thing is clear. This is a place where many anonymous strangers can collectively achieve amazing things, especially when it comes to trolling or creating chaos for its own sake. Before diving into 4chan's more controversial aspects, let's touch on less problematic but nonetheless important and impressive achievements. Like, for example, memes, because the origin of a lot of early internet memes can be traced back to 4chan. In 2007, when the much-anticipated GTA 4 was about to launch, the first trailer for Rockstar's new game was so heavily watched that it crushed their site. In the meantime, numerous copies of the trailer were distributed across the internet. Then, one 4chan user decided to link what was claimed to be the GTA 4 trailer on YouTube, but to everyone's surprise, instead of GTA, it featured Never Gonna Give You Up by Astley, and thus began Rickrolling, a prank where people are baited into clicking on a link promising to resolve a discussion, win a debate, or provide a crucial point, a crucial answer, only to find Astley awaiting them.
Here comes the boy. Oh shit.
It was also through 4chan that this now legendary image of a sad frog known as Pepe the Frog gained a lot of popularity. Despite its apolitical and unassuming appearance, the frog became a symbol of American far-right movements and Hong Kong protesters. Pepe embodies everything that 4chan is, what's its culture and its people. A melancholic frog, symbolizing sadness, anger and surprise. Originally, the frog was apolitical, debuting in Matt Fury's comic Boys Club, where Pepe is seen urinating with his pants around his ankles, and when asked why, he responds, "Feels good, man." This panel from the comic circulated in early internet platforms like MySpace and Gaia Online, before landing, of course, on 4chan, where Pepe was embraced and reimagined. On 4chan, many versions of Pepe quickly began, including rare Pepes that were unique and highly valued memes. However, in 2015, Pepe was co-opted as a symbol of American far-right. The Anti-Defamation League, one of the oldest and most significant Jewish organizations fighting with hate and discrimination, included Pepe in its database of hate symbols, but they later clarified that most use cases of Pepe were not hateful. Matt Fury, Pepe's creator, repeatedly expressed his dissatisfaction with the frog being associated with specific groups or specific political ideologies. In one of the interviews, he explained, "I understand that the meaning of Pepe is beyond my control, but ultimately Pepe is what you say it is, and I, the creator, say Pepe is love." But why did this poor frog got politicized in the first place? Pepe is a universal concept. Celebrities like Katy Perry and Nicki Minaj in 2014 used Pepe memes for relatable purposes. However, in 2015, internet trolls began creating far-right Pepe variants associating the character with the KKK and other white supremacist groups. During the 2016 US presidential campaign, new Pepes emerged, linking the meme to Donald Trump. Trump himself even retweeted a Pepe version of him. Hillary Clinton's campaign published an article linking Pepe to far-right, which quickly backfired by uniting Pepe fans against her. This misstep may have unintentionally strengthened far-right internet movements. To counter this, in October 2016, the Anti-Defamation League partnered with Matt Fury to rebrand Pepe as a positive symbol by collecting peaceful and positive Pepe images. Yet the frog remained politically charged in subsequent years, appearing even in Russian embassy tweets. Fury then resurrected and killed Pepe in a new Boys Club comic, describing it as a form of artistic therapy after Trump's win. Despite all of this, Pepe continues to thrive online as a multi-faced meme symbol. Strongly tied to Pepe is the concept of kek and the fictional nation of Kekistan. Kek derived from a Korean onomatopoeia for laughter, similar to our haha. It also originates from World of Warcraft, and the whole kek even then evolved into a political meme. Kekistan, a satirical nation created by 4chan users, symbolized opposition to political correctness. Kekistan's flag mimics that of Germany, further fueling controversy. Since late 2016, the Kekistan flag has appeared at protests and even at the 2021 US Capitol riot. Pepe and kek often coexist as symbols of internet trolling and dissent against the mainstream. A discussion about 4chan would be incomplete without mentioning Wojak, one of the most recently overused memes. While Wojak don't quite originate from 4chan, it was heavily popularized and transformed there. The original warm-face.gif debuted on December 16, 2009 on a website called Sad and Useless, where Wojak appeared as a person leaning against a wall at a party. According to someone claiming to be Wojak's creator, the meme first appeared on the Polish image board Vchan as face.png, before spreading to the German CrowdChan and then 4chan, where it became known as the Feels Guy. Over time, Wojak evolved into numerous versions, such as Doomer, the female eagle Wojak, or NPC Wojak. YouTube channels like Millennia Thinker use Wojak memes to tell melancholic and often relatable stories. Sam Hyde is an American comedian that has an unique style. Political correctness is a term that he doesn't have in his vocabulary. And some of his sketches are pretty wild and unapologetic, to say the least. He frequently winked at various right-wing groups, openly making jokes at the expense of the more liberal side of the American political scene. So it's no surprise that he became something of a favorite among 4chan users, much to his approval or dismay, with all the consequences of being the mascot for such an unpredictable and controversial group of people. Sam Hyde is a person who deserves a separate video dedicated entirely to him, but for the purpose of this film, the most important thing is that since 2015 his face has appeared almost month after month, practically every time something controversial happens in the world or in the country. School shootings, terrorist attacks, you name it, Sam Hyde or Samuel Hydenko, if the event takes place in Ukraine, is always behind it. The internet trolls from 4chan, especially at the beginning of such jokes, were particularly effective in convincing the media that Sam Hyde or his image was the person behind the latest big attack or scandal. And the media often fell for it, featuring Sam Hyde's image on the top news programs. Some terrorists even used Sam Hyde's image in their manifestos and last messages to the world and their families before carrying out their attacks. It's also mostly 4chan that's behind popularization of internet pastas known as green text pastas, where the events of a given story are counted line by line. It is from 4chan, particularly from the R9K board and other similar boards, that many of the most famous stories have emerged, earning recognition from many. This form of storytelling, whether about life experiences or more abstract concepts, is exceptionally timeless, and nowadays it is increasingly common to see it read aloud by AI on TikTok, often with key gameplay from Minecraft parkour in the background. If you're a fan of SCP Foundation, you may know or you may not have known that the beginnings of SCP began on 4chan's board X, that's dedicated mostly to paranormal phenomena. The fictional organization was in fact born on 4chan when the first SCP-173 was posted by an anonymous user. At first, it was a standalone story that later evolved into a collaborative project carried out by many people. Other new SCP objects naturally copied the style of the original SCP-173 and were also set in the same fictional universe. In this way, through progression of events, the first SCP Wiki was created in January of 2008, but at that time, its co-creators still communicated mainly on 4chan's X board. From this board, many other pioneering concepts have emerged, such as early creepypastas and other urban legends. It was also on X that many terrifying images became popularized. Finally, it was around 2003 on 4chan where the Anonymous group was born, a group of decentralized hackers fighting for a good cause. And their symbol quickly became the legendary Guy Fawkes mask. The philosophy of Anonymous provides insight into an age-old political question, one that remained unanswered and often had tragic consequences for various social movements. What does a new form of collective politics look like, one that seeks to transcend the identity of the individual subject in late capitalism? Yeah, that sounds really intelligent. In general, Anonymous stands in opposition to censorship and control on the internet, often effectively attacking governments and organizations worldwide in defense of these principles. However, Anonymous itself is an organization without much attachment to hierarchy or any formal system of management. It mainly consists of many smaller, self-organizing groups. And while they often work together toward shared goals, each member has their own individual approach, objectives, and views. That's why some self-proclaimed members of the movement protest only legally, while others don't mind breaking the law to achieve their goals. Among the many views and currents within the movement, the group follows a few unwritten but commonly respected rules. The most important being, do not mention the group, do not reveal any of the members' data, and do not attack the media. The most well-known quote associated with the group is their slogan: "We are anonymous, we are legion. We do not forgive, we do not forget. Expect us." In 2008, Anonymous, along with other 4chan users, launched Operation Chanology, targeting the Church of Scientology. The movement gained momentum after a bizarre Scientology video featuring Tom Cruise surfaced, leading Anonymous and 4chan users to protest Scientology's practices through hacks and demonstrations. The Church of Scientology sent legal threats to all websites that published the video and refused to take it down, which attracted widespread media attention around the world. However, this move had the opposite effect of what was intended. Internet users from around the world organized a massive protests against Scientology. Users of the online platform 4chan started the Project Chanology campaign, where they took various actions to disrupt Scientology's online presence. These included prank calls, email floods, and the release of personal information of church members, all in the name of exposing what they believed to be organizations' unethical practices. The campaign later evolved into real-world protests, with demonstrators wearing Guy Fawkes masks, which became a symbol of anonymity thanks to the movie V for Vendetta, and gathering outside Scientology centers globally. Despite the controversial nature of some tactics employed, Project Chanology managed to raise awareness of Scientology and its practices, as well as shining a light on the complex legal and ethical issues related to internet freedom, privacy, and censorship. In the aftermath, the Church of Scientology's attempts to suppress the video ultimately backfired, becoming one of the most infamous examples of the Streisand effect, where efforts to hide or censor information end up amplifying it. 4chan has many boards. One of them is the CIၤ board, dedicated to maths and science. And this story proves better than any other story that 4chan isn't just about the memes and trolling. On September 26, 2011, an anonymous user on CIၤ posted a question about the shortest possible way to watch all the possible orders of episodes of the anime The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya in a non-chronological manner. Soon after, an anonymous user responded with a mathematical proof, arguing that viewers would have to watch at least this many episodes to see all possible orders. 7 years later, professional mathematicians recognized this mathematical proof as a partial solution to the superpermutation problem, which had been unsolved for 25 years. Australian mathematician Greg Egan later published a proof inspired by the 4chan user's theorem, and both proofs are regarded as significant progress in solving the problem. At this point, I hope that it's pretty clear that memes and various actions of 4chan users are virtually infinite. But before I get stuck in a loop, let's move on to some bigger scandals regarding 4chan. In 2014, images began spreading like wildfire, promoting a new functionality in new iPhones. The rumor claimed that phones could now be charged almost instantly by placing them in the microwave for a few seconds. All of this and more with the new iOS 8 update. Apple was not happy with the situation, and as quickly as infographics appeared on the internet, complaints from iPhone users along with drastic pictures of broken phones started popping up on the internet. According to the new Apple Wave technology, 60 seconds at 700 watts should quickly charge the battery, but that's a bit too much. And behind the whole troll were none others than 4chan users. This post is really old and it's somewhat of a legend, but I'm really curious if someone really did fell for it, because this one time on 4chan there was a post claiming to be a tutorial on how to make cool crystals. In this thread we make really cool crystals and show the results. It's simple. You should have all the necessary chemicals at home. You need about 5 copper coins and a straw which you set aside. Next, take a clear jar, add 2 tablespoons of salt and 1 tablespoon of baking soda. The most important ingredient you'll find in bathroom cleaners, ammonia, any brand. Pour it in so that the jar is filled to 2/3 of its height. The more the better for crystal growth. The final ingredient is bleach. Be careful not to spill it on yourself. Fill the rest of the jar with it. Now drop the coins at the bottom, quickly grab the straw and blow bubbles onto the coins to start the crystal creation process. After about 30 seconds of blowing, thread-like crystals should appear. That's it. The attached picture shows the effect after about 10 minutes of constant blowing. The pink and purple color comes from the production of copper calcite using CO2 from your breath. Blowing until you feel a slight dizziness increases CO2 concentration in your breath, which creates better colors. Good luck! Well, let's just say the recipe wasn't exactly true, because it probably led to a creation of mustard gas, which is extremely dangerous. A few days later, another post appeared claiming to be a response to the previous post. Thanks a lot, Anon. I've been coming to this site every day for 2 months and always participate in different actions, but this time you almost killed me. I'm writing this from the hospital because I almost died. Some idiot posted a silly recipe for making crystals that would hurt anyone who tried it. If I remember correctly, it had salt, soda, some copper coins, ammonia and a bit of bleach. I had to mix it all together and blow through the straw until I got dizzy, thinking it would make the crystals prettier. Doctors said they found mustard gas in me and I have to stay in bed for a few days. I'm grounded for a week and my parents took away my internet. Thanks a lot. I hope you all die. The picture below is the crystal I was supposed to get, but instead it almost killed me. So was it just a funny trolling play-along, or perhaps a real victim of irresponsible internet use? Or maybe there were more victims who just couldn't write a post.
Burger King foot lettuce.
In June 2012, there is an image posted to 4chan showing a person standing in what appears to be baskets of lettuce, with the caption, "This is the lettuce you eat at Burger King." As much as someone might have wanted to be funny, users, even on such a twisted corner of the internet like 4chan, were furious. Almost immediately, they managed to locate the place where the photo was taken using the EXIF metadata in the photograph. The location of the fast food joint was Mayfields, Ohio. The media was quickly informed and they began bombarding Burger King with requests for a response. The employee who took the photo was identified and, as expected, fired when the issue came to light. Then came the YouTuber who made a video on the topic compiling various other mysteries from 4chan, top 15s, who, with an exceptionally funny accent, used every adjective and term, filling the video to the brim, turning the topic from serious to parody of a parody. This legendary fragment of the film, featuring the 4chan story, quickly became a meme and the issue gained new life, echoing occasionally on my TikTok For You page. In late August of 2014, a collection of over 500 private photos of various celebrities, mostly women, was posted to 4chan. Many of these images contained nudity. The materials quickly spread to other social media platforms like Imgur and Reddit. At first, it was believed the images had been obtained through a security breach of Apple's iCloud service. However, the company later admitted that access to sensitive data was gained via a phishing attack. The incident received mixed reactions from the media and celebrities. Critics argued that this event was a serious violation of the privacy of the individuals whose photos were leaked, while others outright denied the authenticity of the leaked materials. The hacker responsible for the leak described himself as a collector. He distributed the leaked sensitive information primarily on 4chan and other forums in exchange for bitcoins. Eventually, however, the collector's photos were made available for free for anyone to view. Reddit also became a major hub for activity surrounding the issue. Someone even created a dedicated subreddit to share the images. Within one day, the subreddit The Fappening gained over 100,000 followers. Reddit's administrators, however, were criticized for facilitating the exchange of leaked sensitive information, violating the site's terms of service. In response to the incident, Apple announced plans to improve the security of their iCloud services for their users. In the years following the incident, and after a long FBI investigation, several individuals were arrested and sentenced for their involvement in the leak. Gamergate was a movement that in practice was a reaction to the growing progressivism in video game culture. In 2014 and 2015, the internet erupted with the hashtag Gamergate, with the targets of the activists or gamers being women in the video game industry, particularly feminist critic Anita Sarkeesian and game developers Zoe Quinn and Brianna Wu. It all started with a blog post from mid-2014 called The Zoe Post, in which Zoe Quinn's ex-boyfriend suggested that his ex-girlfriend had received a positive review on her game because of a sexual relationship with a reviewer. The post quickly made its way to 4chan, where many users already despised Zoe Quinn. This led to a campaign of intense harassment against Quinn, which was coordinated via various other anonymous forums. The campaign soon expanded to include Sarkeesian, Wu, and others connected to Quinn or supported by her. It's believed the actions included doxing and various threats. Gamergate supporters argued that they were promoting ethics in game journalism and wanted to protect the identity of gamers from the corruption of political correctness. They also saw late-stage feminism and similar movements, including social justice warriors, as a negative influence. Gamers believed there was a real conspiracy between journalists and video games creators to focus on progressive social issues such as gender equality and sexism rather than on good gameplay and simply making great games. These claims were of course rejected by progressive members of the gamer developer and journalism community, who argued that these issues were merely a cover for the continued harassment of Quinn and other women. Gamergate supporters, however, often denied that any harassment had occurred, claiming it was fabricated by the so-called victims of the movement. Gamergate has been described by many researchers as a cultural war against diversification and feminism in video games, opposing the social identity of gamers. Supporters claimed it was a grassroots social initiative, but as a movement, Gamergate lacked clear objectives, a specific message, or any real leadership, making it difficult to define or politically identify. Nonetheless, almost from the start, Gamergate was seen as being associated with far-right movements. One of the most interesting aspects of the whole controversy was the moment when, at the very beginning of the dispute, 4chan decided to support with donations the feminist group TFYC, which was in an open conflict with Zoe Quinn over a video game competition that she had once organized exclusively for women. This was all done to give 4chan some favorable PR and prove to the world that it's not about fighting feminism itself, nor about pushing women out of the gaming culture. It's about fighting toxic women, and primarily Zoe Quinn, because she, her community, and similar figures irritate them and are ruining the gaming market. In exchange for mass donations, TFYC allowed 4chan users to add their own character to a new game in development. The result? Vivian James, a character designed to look like an ordinary female gamer with a name that sounds like video games. Allegra Ringo, a journalist from Vice, called the character a character pretending to be a feminist icon in order to slander feminists. On the 20th of January 2017, on the day of Donald Trump's inauguration for the new president of the United States, the He Will Not Divide Us project started with great fanfare. The project was heavily promoted by the actor Shia LaBeouf. The installation initially featured a live streaming camera aimed at a wall outside of the Museum of the Moving Image in New York. The wall displayed the words "He Will Not Divide Us." Passers-by were invited to repeat these words in front of the camera, and the footage was streamed live, with the idea that the project would continue throughout Trump's presidency as a symbol of resistance and unity. The stream began as a participatory project involving various individuals, including actor and rapper Jaden Smith. The artists were motivated by the idea of resistance to social divisions. Media outlets such as IndieWire described the project as groundbreaking, highlighting its significance as the first major art of the Trump era. However, it really did end up dividing them, because the project quickly became a target for trolls from 4chan, leading to numerous confrontations and disruptions in front of the camera. This resulted in the museum withdrawing from the project on February 10th of the same year, citing concerns about public safety and the risk of unrest. The artists accused the museum of failing to support the project and bowing to political pressure. At the same time, LaBeouf was arrested for assaulting a man during the stream. The project was then relocated, initially to Albuquerque, New Mexico, but when shots were heard nearby, it was moved again, this time to an undisclosed location where the camera streamed only a flag with the words "He Will Not Divide Us" against the backdrop of the sky. However, despite the secretive location, 4chan users managed to pinpoint the location using flight trails in the sky, tracking flights, their navigation techniques, and using other methods. They determined the flag was located in Greenville, Tennessee. On March 10th, 2017, in the early hour of the morning, a 4chan user removed and stole the flag, replacing it with a red "Make America Great Again" hat and a Pepe the Frog t-shirt. These items were soon removed, and the stream continued to broadcast an empty flagpole. The project was then again relocated, this time to England, on top of the roof of the FACT building, where some intruders broke in, forcing the artists to move the exhibition again, this time to France, where there was even an attempt to set the flag on fire using a drone, but this didn't end the project. In June, the exhibition was even held in Łódź, Poland. Ultimately, the exhibition concluded in January with the flag worn by Time and its adventures being removed on the day of Joe Biden's inauguration as the new president of the United States. Jeffrey Epstein is a really controversial figure, and you might know him, but if you don't, I must explain it in less than a minute. He was a friend of many politicians and powerful people. He basically knew almost everyone, and when the scandal surrounding him erupted, he died. But what is most interesting in this particular affair, from the standpoint of this video, is that a report on Jeffrey Epstein's death was posted on 4chan's political section poll about 40 minutes before the news was reported by ABC News. Initially, it was suspected that the unidentified person who posted the message must have been someone providing first aid, which prompted the New York Fire Department to conduct checks. They later determined that the 4chan post could not have been made by a member of their department. According to the court documents filed on November 5th, 2014, photos were posted on 4chan that likely depicted the victim of a murderer. The body was discovered in Port Orchard, Washington, shortly after the photos were posted. The post was accompanied by the text, turns out strangling someone to death is a lot harder than it looks in movies. In a later post, the user wrote, "Check the news from Port Orchard, Washington in a few hours. Her son will soon return from school. He'll find her, then call the police. I just wanted to share the photos before they find me." The victim was Amber Lynn Copeland, 30 years old. The suspect, 33-year-old David Michael Kalak, was apprehended by police in Oregon later the same day, where he was charged with second-degree murder with domestic violence and sentenced to 82 years in prison. On March 14, 2022, a mass shooting took place in a supermarket in Buffalo, New York. What is most interesting is that, according to reports, the suspect, Peyton S. Gendron, wrote a racist manifesto published 2 days before the shooting on May 12. What's worth noting is that the manifesto's author mentioned that he started browsing 4chan, including its politically incorrect discussion forum poll, starting in May 2020, where he first encountered the Great Replacement conspiracy theory, which became one of his motivations for the criminal act. Of course, there are many more threads and topics surrounding 4chan, and I could basically talk about them for hours on end. No wonder there are often many separate, really long video essays about particular topics from this site. So I think it would be the best to leave it as an unfinished note. And if you would like to hear more about 4chan scandals from me, let me know in the comments. Consider subscribing if you enjoyed this video. But for now, thanks for watching.
Hello, leaders of Scientology. We are anonymous. Over the years, we have been watching you. Your campaigns of misinformation, your suppression of dissent, your litigious nature, all of these things have caught our eye. With the leakage of your latest propaganda video into mainstream circulation, the extent of your malign influence over those who have come to trust you as leaders has been made clear to us. Anonymous has therefore decided that your organization should be destroyed. For the good of your followers, for the good of mankind and for our own enjoyment.